Hello everyone, this is Doris from Susan's family. Today, I'm bringing you the Herbal Chronicle series, the square patchwork blanket, the bellflower design. For this pattern, view it on en.sussudiy.com. First, you need to crochet these motifs. Then, sew all the motifs together. Finally, crochet the border. To make it easier to explain, we divide the motifs into Motif 1, Motif 2, and Motif 3. Let's start with Motif 1. Use the magic ring method. Work in rounds counterclockwise from the starting point. Several crochet stitches will be used, and they are all marked on the chart. I won't list them one by one. Now, please watch my demonstration of the crochet technique. Before we start crocheting, let's learn the proper posture for crocheting. To make it easier for you to watch, I'll use cotton yarn for the demonstration. The colors are random. For specific yarn, color schemes, and hook sizes, refer to the detail page of our product and the paper instructions. First, begin with the magic ring. Pick up the yarn with your right hand. Wrap the yarn twice around your left index finger. Now there are 3 loops of yarn on your left index finger. Use your right thumb and index finger to pinch where the loops overlap. Take it out. Then wrap the yarn once around your left little finger. Thread it between your middle finger and index finger. Transfer the loop between your left thumb and middle finger. Pick up the crochet hook with your right hand. Move the hook between these 2 points. Insert into the loop. Position the hook to the left of the yarn. Wrap the yarn. Draw the yarn through. Now there is 1 loop on the hook. Chain 1 to secure. Wrap the yarn. Draw the yarn through. 1 chain is completed. Pull tight. Make sure the loop on the hook is not too tight. Otherwise, it will be difficult to crochet later. Like this, the adjustable magic ring is completed. Start the first round. Make 1 beginning chain for the SC. The beginning chain does not count as a stitch. Then work SCS into the magic ring. Insert into the magic ring. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. There are now 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over again. And draw through both loops on the hook. 1 SC is completed. There is a V-shaped braid on the upper right. This is the SC. Continue to crochet SCS. Insert into the magic ring. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over again. Draw through the 2 loops on hook. The second SC is completed. You need to crochet a total of 8 SCS in this round. Continue to crochet the remaining SCS. 3. 4. 'After that, close the magic ring. There are 2 loops. Gently pull the starting yarn tail. You can see 1 loop moving. Tighten the moving loop. One loop remains. Pull tight the yarn tail. This closes the loop. Next, finish with a slip stitch in the first SC of this round. Locate the first stitch. Count back from the stitch on the right of the hook. the 8th V-shaped braids. That is the first stitch. Insert the hook. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. Pull through all the loops on the hook. Slip stitch completed. This is the braid formed by the slip stitch. The joining slip stitch does not count as a stitch. You need to pull tight. This prevents adding extra stitches later. Like this, the first round is completed. Move on to round 2. Make 2 beginning chains. These 2 chains count as an incomplete DC. Then, work a DC in the first stitch of the previous round. This is the same entry position as the slip stitch. Yarn over. Insert. Place the starting tail above the hook. Weave in as you go along. Then yarn over, draw the yarn through. Now there are 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, draw through the first 2 loops. 2 loops remain. Yarn over again, and draw through in once. 1 DC is completed. Together with the 2 chains on the right, they form a DC2 bobble. Because we started with a turning chain, this technique is a bit special. Next, make 3 chains. Then, in the adjacent stitch, work a DC2 bobble. Start by working 2 incomplete DCs. Yarn over the hook. Insert into the adjacent stitch. Be mindful to weave in the ends. Yarn over, draw through. Now there are 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, draw through the first 2 loops. This is an incomplete DC. Move on to the second one. Yarn over the hook. Insert into the same stitch. Yarn over, draw through. Yarn over again, draw through the first 2 loops. This is the second incomplete DC. Yarn over the hook. And draw through all the loops on the hook. 1 DC2 bobble is done. Work 3 chains. After completing them, make a DC2 bobble in the next stitch on the left. First, work 2 incomplete DCs. One. 2. Then yarn over, and draw through all the loops on the hook. Another DC2 bobble stitch is done, including the one at the starting position. You now have 3 DC2 bobble. In this round, you will work a DC2 bobble into each stitch from the previous round. Work 1 DC2 bobble in each stitch. Between the DC2 bobble, chain 3 as a transition. Everyone, finish the remaining part of this round. After completing the last 3 chains, join with a slip stitch to the first DC2 bobble. That's the third braid here. Insert the hook. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. Pull through all the loops on the hook. Slip stitch completed. Pull tight. Like this, the second round is completed. Now, let's work the third round. Make 1 beginning chain. Then, in the same position as the slip stitch from the previous round, work 1 SC. Then, in the left chain space, work 1 HDC. Yarn over. Insert. Yarn over, Draw the yarn through. There are now 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through all the loops on the hook. 1 HDC is complete. Move on to 1 DC. Yarn over. Insert into the same chain space. Yarn over, draw the yarn through. Then yarn over again. Pull through the first 2 loops. Repeat this 2 more times. Once. Twice. A DC is done. Make 1 chain. Then work 1 DC in the same space. Follow with 1 HDC. Yarn over. Insert. Yarn over, draw the yarn through. Yarn over again, and draw through all 3 loops on your hook. Another HDC is complete. Then work 1 SC in the DC2 bobble on the left side. Next, in the left chain space, work the same stitches in the chain space on the right side. Start with 1 HDC and 1 DC. Then work 1 chain. Follow with 1 DC and 1 HDC. Once done, work 1 SC in the left DC2 bobbleon. This round involves working the same stitch in each chain space. Work 1 SC in each DC2 bobble. Complete the remaining part of this round. Once completed, join with a slip stitch into the first SC. Pull tight. This completes the 3rd round. Next, work the 4th round. Make 3 chains to start. These 3 chains count as 1 DC. Chain 3 as a transition. Then work 2 more DCS in the same stitch. Work 2 chains between the DCS. Work 1 SC in the left chain space. Chain 2. Then work 1 HDC in the left SC. Chain 2. Work 1 SC in the left chain space. Work 4 DCS in the left SC. Chain 2 between the first 2 DCS as a transition. Chain 3 between the middle 2 DCS as a transition. Chain 2 between the last 2 DCS as a transition. We consider these 4 DCS and the 7 chains in the middle as pattern A. This round involves working HDCS and pattern A in the SCS from the previous round. Make SCS and chains on both sides of the HDCS. Refer to the chart to complete the remaining part of this round. After completing the last SC, work 1 DC and 2 chains in the first stitch of the previous round. This completes the first pattern A. Finally, join with a slip stitch to the third chain of the beginning chain. That is, the fourth braid on the right side of this stitch. Work into the upper 2 strands. Pull tight. This way, round 4 is completed. Move on to round 5. Here, you need to adjust the starting position. Transition using a slip stitch. Insert the hook into the left chain space. Make 1 slip stitch. Be mindful, the slip stitch here is represented by an oval solid dot, which means you do not need to tighten it. A circular solid dot indicates that you need to tighten it. I won't repeat this later. Now the yarn tail is carried to the corresponding position. Make 2 beginning chains. These 2 chains count as an incomplete DC. Next, make 2 incomplete DCS in this chain space. Then yarn over. Draw through all the loops once. 1 DC3 bobble is completed. Since there are beginning chains, the technique here is a bit special. Next, make 4 chains as a transition. Then, in the same chain space, make a DC3 bobble stitch. First, make 3 incomplete DCS. Then yarn over, draw through all the loops on the hook. Another DC3 bobble is completed. Then make 2 more chains. Next, in the left chain space, make 1 DC3 bobble. Work 2 chains. Then, in the adjacent chain space, make 1 DC3 bobble. Work 2 more chains. In this round, in the chain spaces from the previous round, make DC3 bobble. In the chain spaces with 3 chains, make 2 DC3 bobble. 4 chains between the DC3 bobbles. In the remaining chain spaces with 2 chains, make 1 DC3 bobble into each 2 chains between the DC3 bobbles. Refer to the chart. Complete the remaining part of this round. After completing the last 2 chains, join with a slip stitch to the first DC3 bobble. Pull tight. Take a look. This is what it looks like after completing round 5. Continue to crochet round 6. First, adjust the starting position. Insert the hook into the adjacent chain space. Make 1 slip stitch. This carries the yarn tail to the corresponding position. Work 3 beginning chains. These 3 chains count as 1 DC. Then work 2 more DCs in the same space. Including the beginning chain. This makes 3 DCs in total. Take the 3 DCs in the same stitch as 1 leaf. Then work 3 chains. Then work another leaf in the same position. Work 1 chain. Then work 1 DC in the left chain space. One chain. Then in the left space. Work 1 leaf and 1 DC in sequence. Work 1 chain between the leaf and the DC. Continue until you reach the corner chain space. Arrive at the corresponding position. In this corner, work 2 leaves. Work 3 chains between the leaves. This round involves working 2 leaves in each of the 4 corner spaces from the previous round. 3 chains as a transition between leaves. For the remaining 2 chain spaces, work 1 DC and 1 leaf in sequence. Between the DC and the leaf, chain 1 as a transition. Refer to the diagram to complete the remaining part of this round. After completing the last chain, join with a slip stitch into the beginning chain. Pull tight. This way, round 6 is completed. Secure with a chain. Leave about 5 centimeters of yarn tail, and cut the yarn. Then, weave the yarn tail along the texture, to the wrong side of the fabric. Weave in a few more stitches and break the yarn. This way, motif 1 is now completed. Everyone use the same method to finish the remaining motif 1s. Next, let's look at motif 2. Similarly, use the magic ring method. Work in rounds counterclockwise from the starting chain. You will need to change colors during the process. The new stitch techniques used include SC2 in 1, SC increase, and the cross group. Please watch my demonstration. First, start with the magic ring. Then crochet 6 SCS in the first round. I have already prepared this part in advance. Next, move on to the second round. Make 1 beginning chain. Then, in the first stitch of the previous round, make a SC2 in 1. That means make 2 SCS into the same stitch. Pay attention to weaving in the ends. One, 2. A SC 2-in-1 is completed. Continue working by crocheting 2 SCS into each stitch of the previous round. Work this round completely. When completed, join with a slip stitch into the first stitch. Pull tight. This way, the second round is done. Chain 1 to secure. Leave about 5 centimeters and cut the yarn. Weave the yarn tail into the wrong side of the fabric. Weave a few more stitches before trimming. Next, crochet round 3. For this round, work into the front loops of round 2. A stitch looks like this with 2 strands. The strand closer to you is the front loop. The strand farther from you is the back loop. Take the corresponding color of yarn. Make a slip knot with the yarn tail. Hold the yarn with your left hand. Work into any front loop from round 2. Draw the loop through. Slightly adjust the loop size. Then crochet 7 chains. Next, work into the strand of the second from the last chain on the left side. Crochet 1 slip stitch. This slip stitch also doesn't need to be tightened. Then, work into the strand on the left side of each chain. Crochet 1 SC. 2 HDCS. One SC. And 1 slip stitch. After completing this, in the adjacent front loop of the joining position, crochet 1 slip stitch. Take this long strip as 1 petal. This round requires a total of 12 petals. Move on to the second one. First, chain 7. Then starting from the second chain from the hook, pick up the left thread. Work the corresponding stitch. After completing this, crochet 1 slip stitch in the front loop of the adjacent stitch. The second petal is completed. Everyone repeat this process to complete the remaining number of petals. For the last slip stitch, crochet at the joining position where you started. Tighten. Then fasten off the yarn. Everyone, take a look. This is what it looks like after completing round 3. Next, let's work the round 4. In this round, we will crochet into the back loops of the second round. First, insert the hook into the back loop of the first stitch of the second round. And join the yarn here. Make 3 chains to start. These 3 chains count as 1 DC. Then chain 2 for transition. Next, pick up the back loop of the adjacent stitch. Work 1 DC. Make sure to weave in the yarn tail. Then chain 2 for transition. Next, pick up the back loop of the adjacent stitch. Work 1 DC. Chain 2 again. In this round, continue picking up the back loops of the adjacent stitches. In the second round, work a DC into the back loops. Chain 2 between the DCs. Everyone, complete this round. After completing the last 2 chains, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Tighten. Like this, round 4 is completed. Next, crochet round 5. First, adjust the starting position. Then make 1 beginning chain. Work 1 SC in the same chain space. Then chain 5. Work 1 SC in the left chain space. Chain 5. This round involves working 1 SC in each chain space from the previous round, and working 1 SC in each chain space. Chain 5 between the SCs. Everyone, complete this round. After completing, join with a slip stitch to the first SC. Tighten. Like this, round 5 is completed. Now let's work on round 6. You need to adjust the starting position again. Then work a DC3 bobble. When working the third incomplete DC, you need to connect to the corresponding petal from the third round. Pick up the matching petal. Insert into the 2 strands behind the top SC. Insert. Then insert into the chain space. Work an incomplete DC. Then work 4 chains. Then in the same chain space, work another DC 3 bobble stitch. When working the first incomplete DC, connect with the previous petal. Insert into the same connection point. Then work 2 chains, followed by a DC 3 bobble in the left chain space. When working the second incomplete stitch, connect to the adjacent petal from the third round. First pick up the 2 strands behind the top SC. Then insert into the chain space. This round involves working DC 3 bobbles in the chain spaces from the previous round, with chains between the bobble stitches. Refer to the chart for the specific number of DC 3 bobbles and chains. When working a DC bobble alone in a chain space, you need to connect to the petal when working the second incomplete DC. When working 2 DC 3 bobbles in the chain space, when working the third incomplete DC of the first DC 3 bobble, and the first incomplete DC of the second DC 3 bobble, you need to connect to the same petal. Everyone finish this round. Once completed, slip stitch into the first DC 3 bobble. Pull tight. Then cut the yarn. This way, round 6 is completed. Move on to round 7. Take the corresponding color yarn. Join the yarn at the left side of the breaking yarn position from previous round. Make 2 beginning chains. These 2 chains count as 1 HDC. Then work another HDC in the same space. Make sure to weave in the ends. Then crochet 3 chains, followed by 2 HDCs in the same space. Then in the left DC 3 bobble, work 1 SC. Then crochet 3 SCS in the left side chain space. Followed by 1 SC in the left stitch. The next stitch is a cross group. First insert into the left side. At the entry position of the DC 3 bobble, work 1 DC. which is in this chain space. Slightly enlarge the loop for the height. So that the completed height matches the SC on the right. Next, in the chain space between these two DC3 bobbles, work 1 SC. Then, in the chain space on the right side of this DC entry position, work 1 DC. Put the completed DC behind. Do not wrap it. You also need to slightly enlarge the loop for the height. A cross group is done. The height should match the SCS in this round. Do not let the fabric roll. Then in the stitches of the two DC3 bobbles on the left, work 1 SC into each. Crochet 3 SCS in the middle chain space. Take the position of the beginning chain to the last SC here as one group. In this round, you need to repeat this stitch pattern 4 times. Continue working. I'll demonstrate the method for the cross group again. First, work 1 DC in the chain space on the left side of the 5th round. Mind that you slightly enlarge the loop for the height. Then work 1 SC in this chain space. Then work 1 DC in the chain space to the right of the insertion point of this DC. Work 1 DC. Place the completed DC behind. Do not wrap it. The cross group is completed. Continue to crochet the remaining part of this round. After completing the last SC, join with a slip stitch to the second chain of the beginning chain. Pull tight. Then cut the yarn. Everyone look, this is what it looks like after completing round 7. Now let's crochet round 8. Join the yarn in the left chain space of the cutoff position. Then work 2 leaves in this chain space. Work 3 chains between the leaves. Pay attention to weaving in the ends. After completing, work 1 chain. Then skip 2 stitches. Work 1 DC in the 3rd stitch from the left. Then work 1 chain. Then skip 2 stitches. Work 1 leaf in the 3rd stitch from the left, which means working 3 DCs in that stitch. This round involves alternating DCs and leaves. Chain 1 between the DC and the leaf, and skip 2 stitches. At the 4 corners, work 2 leaves and 3 chains between the leaves. Refer to the chart to complete the remaining part of this round. When done, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. Cut the yarn. Tuck all the yarn tails on the wrong side of the fabric piece. This way, round 8 is completed. Motif 2 is finished. Use the same method to complete the remaining motif 2s. Now move on to motif 3, which includes the flower and the main part. The flower starts with a magic ring, and crochet in rounds counterclockwise. First crochet 1 flower, then when crocheting the remaining 3 flowers, you need to connect them with the previous flowers. After all 4 flowers are completed, then crochet 1 flower center to connect the middle of the 4 flowers. After completing it, add some decorations on top. The new stitch techniques used include the CH2 picket. Please let me demonstrate. First, crochet the first 3 rounds of the flower. I have already prepared this part in advance. Start with a magic ring. In the first round, crochet 6 SCS into the magic ring. The second round is a sequence of SC2 in 1 and 2 SCS. The third round is a sequence of 3 SCS and a SC2 in 1. Next, let's work round 4. First, work 3 chains. Then, in the adjacent stitch, work a DC3 bobble. Then work a CH2 picket. First, work 2 chains. Then pick up the thread on the back of the first chain. Work a slip stitch. This is a CH2 picket. Then work 3 chains. And make 1 slip stitch in the left stitch. We consider these 6 chains: 1 DC3 bobble, 1 CH2 picket, and 1 slip stitch as 1 petal. There are a total of 5 petals in this round. I will demonstrate the petal again. Work 3 chains, then make a DC3 bobble in the left stitch. Next, work 1 CH2 picket. Work 2 chains. Then pick up this chain. The thread on the wrong side. Work 1 slip stitch. Work 3 more chains. Then work 1 slip stitch in the adjacent stitch. The second petal is completed. Everyone continue to finish the remaining part of this round. After completing the last 3 chains, work 1 slip stitch in the first SC of the previous round. Then pull tight and fasten off the yarn. This way, you have completed 1 flower. The flower should have the 3-dimensional effect when finished. If the actual flower is relatively flat, you need to adjust your tension and crochet it again. Move on to the second flower. First complete the first 3 rounds and the first 4 petals of the 4th round. Then work the 5th petal. Start with 3 chains and 1 DC3 bobble. Then work 1 CH2 picket. After working 1 chain, release the loops on the hook. Take out the previous flower and insert the hook into any petal, the gap of the CH2 picket. The gap here is small. If you can't find it accurately, you can pick up roughly 2 strands of yarn. Then insert the hook into the release loop and draw through. Then complete the CH2 picket and the remaining chains. Finally, in the first stitch of the previous round, join with a slip stitch and pull tight. Cut the yarn. Like this, the second flower is completed, and the 2 flowers are connected. Now let's connect the third one. First, complete the first 4 petals. Then crochet the 5th petal. Start with 3 chains and 1 DC3 bobble. Then, after completing the first chain of the CH2 picket, release the loops on the hook. Take out the first 2 flowers and connect to any flower. The connection position here needs to be 1 petal apart from the previous connection. Insert into the gap of the CH2 picket. Pick any 2 strands. Then draw the loop through. Complete it. Cut the yarn. The third flower is connected and completed. Continue connecting the 4th flower. This flower needs to connect with the beginning and ending flowers, forming a circle. First, complete the first 2 petals. When working on the 3rd petal, work 3 chains and 1 DC3 bobble. Then take out the previous flower. Connect to the rightmost flower first, with one petal apart from the previously connected petal. Then complete this petal and the fourth petal. When working on the fifth petal, connect to the flower at the other end. Be mindful that the connecting position, it should be one petal apart as well. Complete it. Once finished, there are exactly 4 petals in the middle. Move on to crochet the center of the flower, connecting the 4 petals in the middle. First, start with a magic ring. Then release the loop on the hook. Choose any petal from the 4 flowers in the middle. Insert the hook into the chain space of the CH2 picot and draw the loop through. Then make 1 chain. Next, make 1 slip stitch into the magic ring. This connects 1 flower. Release the loop again. And insert the hook into the chain space of the CH2 picot on the adjacent petal. Draw the loop through. Make 1 chain. And make 1 slip stitch into the magic ring. The second petal is connected. Complete the remaining 2 petals using the same method. When done, close the magic ring. And then slip stitch into the first chain. Be mindful to insert from the bottom the petals. And pull tight. Break the yarn. Tuck all the yarn tails on the wrong side of the fabric. And then add decorations to the flower. Cut a piece of corresponding color yarn. Thread it through a darning needle. And embroider 5 line segments on the flower. Each line segment should come out from the middle of the DC3 bobble on the petals. Then insert into the center of the first round. Finish the remaining 4 line segments. When done, come out from the middle position between round 1 and 2. Then take out the darning needle. Insert a beading needle. Take a pearl and thread it through. Then take out the beading needle. Insert the darning needle. And insert it from the other side. Tie off the yarn tail, and tuck it on the wrong side. For the remaining 3 flowers, complete the decoration using the same method. This way, the flower making process is now complete. Next, let's crochet the main part of the motif. Pick up stitches from the wrong side of the flower and crochet the first round. Then crochet in rounds counterclockwise. During the process, connect with 4 flowers. The new stitches used include TR, HDC3 puff, DC5 in 1. Please watch my demonstration. Start round 1. On any petal connected to the flower center, pick up the 2 strands behind the DC3 bobble. Draw the loop through. Be mindful that these are the 2 strands closer to the top. Then chain 5. Next, pick up the same 2 strands on an adjacent petal. crochet 1 slip stitch. Crochet 5 chains. Continue to complete this round. Note while crocheting, the flower should always be in front. When finished, join with a slip stitch at the starting join point. This way, round 1 is completed. Next, crochet round 2. First, adjust the yarn tail to the left chain space. Make 3 chains to start. Then, crochet 5 DCS in the same chain space. Be mindful to weave in the ends. When finished, in the remaining 3 chain spaces, crochet 6 DCS into each. When finished, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. This way, round 2 is also completed. Next, let's crochet round 3. Make 3 chains to start. Then, skip 1 stitch. Crochet 2 DCS in the second stitch from the left. Chain 2 between the DCS. Take these 2 DCS and the 2 chains in the middle as one group. This does not count the starting position. This round requires a total of 11 groups of this stitch pattern. Skip 1 stitch below each group. Everyone, crochet all 11 groups first. Then, crochet 1 DC in the turning chain from the previous round. Chain 2. Complete this group. Join with a slip stitch into the beginning chain. Pull tight. Round 3 is complete. Next, crochet round 4. First, adjust the yarn tail to the chain space on the right side. Make the loops on the hook slightly loose. Then insert the hook into the chain space. Crochet 1 slip stitch. Now the yarn tail is adjusted to the corresponding position. When crocheting this round, you need to connect the flowers. Start with 4 chains. These 4 chains count as 1 TR. Then crochet 1 TR in this chain space. Wrap the yarn around the hook twice. Insert the hook. Yarn over, draw the yarn through. Then yarn over again. Pull through the first 2 loops. Repeat 3 times. Once. Twice. 3 times. A TR is complete. Then work a DC in the starting chain on the left. Continue following the chart and work 3 DCS. Work until 1 stitch before the marked stitch. When you reach the position, work the marked DC. When working this stitch, connect to the petal. Yarn over. First, insert into the chain space of the picket on the right side of the petal. Then insert into the stitch from the third round. Work a DC. The connection to the petal is complete. Continue using this method for the connections. Continue following the chart and work 5 DCS. After completing, work 2 TRS in the left chain space, yarn over twice. Insert, yarn over. Draw the yarn through, then yarn over again. Pass through the first 2 loops. Repeat 3 times. Work 1 more in the same stitch. Then chain 3 as a transition. Work 2 more TRS in the same chain space. Follow the chart and work 4 DCS. Reach the marked DC position. Insert into the chain space for the right petal connection. And match up with the corresponding DC from the third round. The second marked DC is now completed. Everyone continue to finish the remaining part of this round. After completing the last 3 chains, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. This way, round 4 is completed. Next, we'll work on round 5. Similarly, adjust the yarn to the right chain space. Make 3 chains to start. Then work 2 chains for transition. Next, work 1 DC in this space. Then skip 2 stitches. On the third stitch from the left, work 1 group. The stitch pattern for this round has been demonstrated earlier. Everyone refer to the chart to complete the remaining part of this round. After completing it, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. This way, round 5 is completed. Next, work round 6. Adjust the starting position first. In this round, the marked positions on the chart also need to be connected with flowers. Make 2 beginning chains. Then, work 2 incomplete HDCS in this space. Yarn over. Insert the hook. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. This is 1 incomplete HDC. Next, work the second one. Yarn over. Insert the hook. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over again. And draw through all the loops on the hook. This is equivalent to a HDC3 puff. Because we started with a beginning chain. The technique here is a bit special. Next, work 2 chains. Then, in the next chain space, work a HDC3 puff. First, work 3 incomplete HDCS. 1, 2. When working the third incomplete HDC, you need to connect it to the petal below. Yarn over the hook. Work into the chain space of the picket on the DC3 bobble from the petal. If you can't find the exact spot, just aim for the general area. Then insert into the corresponding chain space. Yarn over and draw through. Yarn over again. And draw through all the loops on the hook. 1 HDC3 puff is completed, and the petal is also connected. Work 2 chains. Then crochet 4 HDC3 puff. 2 chains between each HDC3 puff. After completing them, work 2 more chains, then crochet the next HDC3 puff. When working the first incomplete HDC, insert into the corresponding petal and chain space. Finish this HDC3 puff. And the second petal is connected. In this round, crochet HDC3 puff into the chain spaces from the previous round. 2 chains between the HDC3 puff. In the chain spaces at the 4 corners, make 2 HDC3 puff. 4 chains in between. At the positions marked on the chart, connect to the corresponding petals. Work into the chain space of the picket on the DC3 bobble from the petal. Refer to the chart to finish the remaining part of this round. After completing, join with a slip stitch and pull tight. This way, round 6 is completed. Next, we'll work on round 7. Here, I'll use a sample to demonstrate. First, adjust the starting position. Make 3 chains to start. Then, crochet 2 DCS into this chain space. After completing, make 1 DC into the chain on the left side of the HDC3 puff. Be mindful that this stitch is worked into the chain braid. Then, crochet 2 DCS into the chain space. Make 1 DC into the chain space on the left side of the HDC3 puff. Then, crochet 2 DCs into the chain space. Continue following this method. And finish crocheting all the DCs along this edge. At the corner position. In the space with 4 chains, make 1 DC into the chain braid on the left side of the HDC3 puff. Then, crochet 3 DCs into the chain space. Next, crochet 3 chains and 3 DCs. Continue and finish crocheting the remaining part of this round. After completing the last 3 chains, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. Then cut the yarn. And tuck the yarn tail on the wrong side of the fabric. This way, round 7 is completed. Next, crochet round 8. Join the yarn in the chain space on the right side of the beginning chain from the previous round. Then, crochet 1 leaf in this chain space. And skip 2 stitches. In the third stitch from the left, crochet 1 SC. Then skip 2 stitches. In the third stitch from the left, make a DC 5 in 1, which means crochet 5 DCs into the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then skip 2 stitches. In the third stitch from the left, work 1 SC. For the 4 sides of this round, alternate 1 SC with DC 5 in 1. To skip 2 stitches. At the end of each side, on the left side of the last SC, skip only 1 stitch. In the chain spaces at the 4 corners, work 2 leaves in each, 3 chains between the leaves. Refer to the diagram and complete the remaining part of this round. When finished, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. Then cut the yarn. This way, round 8 is completed. Next, let's work on round 9. Attach yarn in the chain space to the right of where you cut the yarn. Make 1 beginning chain. Then work 1 SC in the same stitch. Work 4 chains. Next, work 1 cross group. First, insert into the gap on the left side of the adjacent SC. Work 1 DC. Then work 1 chain. Next, in the gap on the right side of this SC. Work 1 DC. Wrap the completed DC together. One cross group is completed. Be mindful that this cross group is different from the one in motif 2. You need to wrap the previous DC. Then work 4 chains. Next, work another cross group. First, work 1 DC in the gap on the left side of the adjacent SC. Then chain 1. Next, work 1 DC in the gap on the right side of this SC. Another cross group is completed. This round is work a cross group around the SC. Work 4 chains between the cross group. Work 2 SCS in each corner position. 3 chains between the SCS. Refer to the pattern. Complete the remaining part of this round. When done, join with a slip stitch to the first SC. Pull tight. Then cut the yarn. Like this, round 9 is completed. Next, work round 10. Attach yarn in the chain space to the right of where you cut the yarn. Then work 1 leaf. Next, in round 8. Work 1 SC in the middle stitch of the leaf. Be mindful that you need to wrap the chains from round 9. Then, in the chain space of the cross group on the left, work 5 DCS. Next, work 1 SC in the middle stitch of the 5 DCS from round 8. Again, you need to wrap the chains from round 9. For the 4 sides of this round, you will work 5 DCS and 1 SC. The 5 DCS are worked in the chain spaces of the cross group from round 9. The SCS are worked in the middle stitches of the DC from round 8. And you need to wrap the chains from round 9. Work 2 leaves into each of the 4 corners. 3 chains between the leaves. Complete the remaining part of this round. When finished, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. Cut the yarn. This way, round 10 is completed. Now, I'm using this sample to explain the stitch pattern for rounds 11-12. The method for round 11 is the same as round 9. For the 4 corner positions of round 12, work 2 leaves into each. 3 chains between the leaves. For the 4 sides, work the DCS in the middle stitch of round 10. At the same time, wrap around the chains from round 11. Work the leaves in the chain spaces of the cross groups from round 11. Between the DCS and the leaves, work 1 chain as a transition. Refer to the chart to complete these last 2 rounds. Weave all the yarn tails on the wrong side of the fabric. This way, the crochet method for motif 3 is explained. Crochet the corresponding number of motif 3s. After all the motifs are completed, refer to the chart to sew them together. You can watch the demonstration first, then start sewing them together. First, arrange the motifs according to the diagram. I will demonstrate sewing the 4 small flowers in the upper right corner first. Start by sewing vertically. Cut a length of yarn in the corresponding color. Thread it onto the sewing needle. Tie a knot with one end of the yarn. Insert the needle into any corner position. Into the middle of the 3 chains. Pick the back loop and insert the needle. Then pick the same corner position on another motif. The middle chain stitch. And exit through the half loop closer to the back. The wrong sides of the 2 motifs should be facing each other. Next, insert the needle into the middle of the knot. Then sew the same position on this motif again. Continue by inserting into the back loop of the adjacent braid. At the same time, pull through the adjacent back loop on this motif. While sewing, weave in the yarn tail together. Align the 2 motifs. Continue inserting from front to back through the adjacent half loops. Repeat this process to continue sewing downward. Make sure not to pull too tight or too loose. Keep the motifs flat. Sew all the way to the other end of the corner position. Through the middle chain of the 3 chains. You can also sew the last stitch position one more time. This way, the 2 motifs at the top are sewn together. Then take out the corresponding 2 motifs. At the middle stitch of the corner, work into the half loop. Then draw through from the half loop of the corresponding stitch on the other motif. You can also sew this stitch one more time. Then sew the rest of the edge. You can sew the beginning and ending stitches of each motif one more time. After completing, weave the yarn tail to the wrong side. Tie off and weave in the tail on the wrong side. Next, take the yarn and connect the middle edge. Use the same method, and continue sewing until you reach the connection point of the 4 motifs. At the middle position, Insert into the middle stitch of the 3 chains and sew again. Pay attention to the insertion position. Continue sewing the rest of the edge. After completing, weave the yarn tail to the wrong side. Tie off and weave in the tail. That's it, the 4 small motifs are now sewn together. Next, take out motif 3 on the left side. Continue taking the yarn and sew. Use the same method. Sew all the way to the connection point of the 3 motifs. When you meet a starting chain, sew at the same entry position where you made the slip stitch. At the middle connection point, pick up the half stitch and sew it with the adjacent stitch. Then, pick up the middle back loop of this motif and sew it to the same position as before. Continue sewing one stitch to another. That is, the middle stitch of these 2 small motifs should be sewn to the same stitch on the large motif. Continue sewing along this edge. If the stitch count doesn't match later, you can skip a stitch and continue sewing. After finishing this edge, you could not break the yarn. Then continue referring to the diagram, take out the adjacent motif and continue sewing. The situations involved have all been explained earlier. You can also arrange the motifs according to your preference. This way, the sewing of the motifs is complete. Next, we'll crochet the border. Crochet around the outer edge of the sewn motifs counterclockwise. Please watch the demonstration. Begin crocheting round 1. Join the yarn in any corner chain space. Then work 1 leaf in the chain space. Crochet 1 chain. Then work 1 DC in the middle stitch of the left leaf. Chain 1. Then skip 1 stitch and 1 chain. In the position of the left DC. Work 1 leaf. Continue referring to the chart. Crochet until you reach the connection point between 2 motifs. When you reach the position, work 1 leaf at this connection point. Work into these 2 threads. This round consists of 1 leaf and 1 DC in sequence. Chain 1 between the leaf and the DC. Work a leaf into these 2 threads of the connection points between 2 motifs. For the 4 corners, work 2 leaves in the chain spaces. 3 chains between the leaves. Refer to the chart to complete the remaining part of this round. After completing it, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. Cut the yarn. Tuck the yarn tail on the wrong side of the fabric. This way, the first round of the edging is completed. For the remaining rounds of the edging, the stitch pattern is almost the same as the later rounds of motif 3. When making cross groups, the second DC needs to wrap around the first DC. For the row above the cross group, the SCS need to wrap around the chains of the cross group. The number of rounds and color scheme in the chart are for reference. When crocheting, you can freely match colors and adjust the number of rounds based on your preference. This way, the edging explanation is completed. Up to this point, the complete making method for this blanket has been explained. If you have any questions during the process, don't hesitate to reach us via our website. Susan's Family, supporting your handwork experience, sharing the joy of life. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.